get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Tyler Lane of Session Interactive. And Tyler, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of the Top Agency series, I have some cool agency ones. Todd Taskey. Todd Taskey helps pair agencies with private equity. Okay. He has a Second Bite podcast because he finds that sometimes when people sell to private equity and then private equity sells again, they make more sometimes on the second bite than they do on the first. And so we talked about the M&A space, the agency space, valuation space. Great episode, great podcast. He's become a good friend as well. Jason Swank, we have to mention Jason Swank. I mean, Tyler and I dominated people in bags. We're very competitive. And we met through Jason Swank and his group. He's got 2 episodes. One of them is like how he built his agency up to 8 figures and sold it. And it was a really interesting episode. Again, just like some of the growth things that he did and some of his recommendations, which was great. There was another one, Tyler, Kevin Hurrigan. Had an agency since 1995. So it was really interesting to hear the landscape of the internet and agency and everything in between with the .com bust and how that affected him. And so he's a good guy and just really experienced. That was a great episode. So check more out on inspiredinsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses give to and connect to your dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that in 2 ways. One, we help companies launch and run a podcast. We're an easy button for a company to do that. We do the strategy, accountability, and the full execution and production. And number 2, we're an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting and staying top of mind to your clients and partners and prospects easy, and even staff, Tyler. So like people will send us their address list. We will literally curate the gifts. We'll put their branding on the box. We'll send it to them in a campaign over sometimes years. So we call ourselves kind of the magic elves that run in the background to make it easy for a company to build amazing relationships. Because for me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people I admire and the companies on the podcast and send them sweet treats in the mail. So Tyler, I don't know if you've gotten any, but you probably will. So
not yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to introduce Tyler Lane. He's the founder and CEO of Session Interactive. Session Interactive is a results-driven digital marketing agency which transforms how brands grow online. And he has over 15 years of success in SEO, marketing, automation. I mean, you name it. When I look at his website and what he's done, he helps companies do this, and he builds really a data-driven campaign to outperform the industry benchmarks. He's all about data, right? And so we're going to get into that. Tyler, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good to see you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So just start off and talk about Session Interactive and what you do. And while you do that, I'm going to pull up the website and we're going to poke around.
Let's do it. Yeah. So Session is a search forward agency fixating on 3 main departments, primarily SEO, which is a broad acronym. It's changing rapidly in the space with AI and a number of other things, getting into generative engine optimization, technical optimization, off-page work, content marketing, you name it. Then we have our paid media department, which is primarily paid search, paid social with a bit of programmatic. And then lastly, which is definitely our core differentiator amongst our experience, but is around analytics. That's primarily web analytics, immersion across Google products, Adobe products, you name it, or immersed in there providing value and attribution-based insights.
Talk about the analytics for a second. I know that you geek out on analytics, and everything goes back to really analytics. And when we talk about truly running data-driven campaigns, it's all about the analytics. What have you seen? Because you look under the hood, right? You got in there, you look under the hood. What are the mistakes people are making with in the analytics realm?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I'll just start off first is we recognize that as just a massive differentiator in the space where there's a lot of paid media agencies and SEO, but their competency around analytics was pretty limited, and it wasn't really coming full circle at all. So, to really answer your question around some of the mistakes that we see, clients, every single instance of analytics, Google Analytics or Adobe that we've encountered has massive gaps, massive discrepancies, has issues in terms of cleanliness, attribution problems, you name it. I think there's probably maybe a handful that have been in like a really good place, but still has opportunities. And it really is around trust. It starts with the conversion values to make sure people are understanding and attributing success to their campaigns correctly. And oftentimes some of those elements are maybe configured correctly, but they're really not understanding the full funnel as people walk through and digest content and go through specific items within the website. So making sure events are configured correctly so you can kind of understand people's user behavior and make strategic business decisions around how you allocate money across channels. And we want to simplify it for our clients. I think that there's a big intimidation gap too. People are not in the platforms as much. So we really want to utilize data lakes and back up things and then pipe everything into custom data visualization platforms so they don't have to go into analytics necessarily. They can see what they need to make the decisions that they need to within a real-time dashboard.
You can customize the dashboard for them so they can just see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe we'll talk about an example. And I was looking at your website and I found Canvas Credit Union and multiplies conversion traffic 5 times. Can you walk us through what happened there? Because I'm sure everyone's like, I want to multiply my conversion traffic.
Sure. Yeah. The credit union space has it's been thrilling, to be honest. I'll say this. I said this on a podcast a number of months ago about just the passion that these individuals have. It's unmatched in terms of their particular category.
Why do you think? Because it's more community based, or
yeah, it's community based. It's really you're impacting people at these pivotal decisions in their lives, right? Around buying their first vehicle or buying their first home or buying their second home or vacation properties, you name it, and they're trying to really establish great relationships. They're trying to, of course, give them the best rates that they can possible and make sure they have this fluid, transparent integration with their financial institution, and which is awesome. And you can the passion with these individuals is really really impressive to see. So when we first got in with Canvas, it was evident that they had no real core SEO strategy. They had no real.
What were they coming to you with? Like, what was the issue? Were they saying, I just want more clients or customers?
Yeah.
Or what?
They had recognized that they needed SEO help. They realized they didn't have a comprehensive strategy. They realized they didn't really have a pulse on their organic search program. And organic search with these brands it should be dominant, right? It should be a really top channel. And it was, but they weren't fully optimizing it, no pun intended there, but they really weren't harnessing the true power of a content strategy, of a technical infrastructure that adheres to users first. So those are things that we started off with an audit, then really a sound strategy from there and a comprehensive roadmap. They've been a long-standing client of ours, and it's been an awesome fruitful relationship.
What kind of, so you use like SEO? Is there anything else you do with them?
We do, yeah. So they're a multi-service client. They initially started with SEO, fixating on local SEO, so building those local platforms and making sure individuals in the local designated marketing area can find a location, right? And then we help supplement organic growth with paid media and primarily paid search, which has performed incredibly well for again their local designated marketing area, which is all of Colorado. They're about 30 plus locations now, and really need to differentiate themselves and make sure that they're the go-to brand when people are looking for a financial institution.
When you go into a company like that or any company, when you say technical infrastructure, I imagine there's a lot of stuff maybe they're not doing on the page. What's the one example of like a low-hanging fruit opportunity that people should maybe go check because maybe they're not doing it and it's so obvious to you, but not to others?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of it's a good question. It's a loaded question too, because I think we we want to ensure there's a custom strategy. I think oftentimes SEOs will go into a website and judge things very quickly to state like, oh, XYZ needs to be fixed. And you don't understand the history. You don't understand why that hasn't been fixed. Maybe it was an oversight, or maybe has been planned as a release, but there's been some limitations. So it takes it takes a thoughtful response to tread lightly. There's people that have been building website infrastructure or a custom CMS, certain things like that. So you need to, you tread lightly there. I will say, certain things around usability, speed to a certain extent, making sure that those core aspects are tenants within your strategy. Back to the analytics really quick outside of SEO. Well, it integrates with SEO, but is really around conversion tracking correctly and making sure that's set up and integrated. When we had first onboarded Canvas and a number of clients like them too, their attribution from an application, that's really what's their goal, right? Is to ensure
They want someone coming on, they want applying for a loan or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. And they want to then nurture those individuals, get them in to establish a rapport. And the attribution was not set up at the channel level. So they were getting click data. Like someone clicked on this button, right? They weren't getting full funnel. Okay. They converted on this particular application and they ultimately came through and became a customer, and it was attributed to XYZ channel or a group of those channels. So that's what we really helped do for them to make sure that was streamlined and reallocate marketing funds to more efficient channels and more efficient multi-channel activities.
I'm curious, what's an example of something you changed based on what you saw with the analytics or something else with I mean, it could be with them or anyone, because I'm thinking, well, oh yeah, maybe through the analytics you saw this is in the wrong place. Like people are looking over here. I don't know. What are some of the things you had to change to help them optimize?
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's applicable to pretty much every client we work with. I mentioned that word intimidation. Google Analytics has gone through a variety of changes. The most recent change or update is Google Analytics 4. And it's become, people are very frustrated in the community because it got away from the old instance, which is a lot more simplistic, a lot more user friendly. And so now with analytics, we are experiencing, again, people are becoming a lot more intimidated by going into the infrastructure. It's not as intuitive. So we're really wanting to educate clients in how to utilize the data more effectively. We want to ensure it's simplistic, and we want to help them analyze. And ultimately, it's questions that we ask them, like, what's going to be beneficial to your day to day in your particular job? These are individual questions, and how can we make it easier for you to make those decisions faster? And that's how we want to customize the instant. So we get away from some of that fluff it's just, you can pull the same report a few different times or a few different ways, excuse me. And it gets incredibly confusing. So one team member is doing the same thing perceivably as another, but they're pulling different things. So it gets immensely confusing. So a little bit of governance, a little bit of strategic planning, and making sure they're able to assess and analyze data correctly on the reports that make the most sense for them.
So on the front end, it sounds like you may be mapping out the customer journey a little bit so that you know what's important to them.
Yeah, customer journey is massive within our discovery process, and then how things evolve as their website evolves, as their ICP changes. So we need to be adaptable and make sure that we are adhering and customizing their instance as needed. I think that's the big thing with analytics, is that we have evolved significantly at Session from being just implementers to being more strategists, and on the analytics side, being more strategists and providing insights and analysis that can empower channels that we don't necessarily manage. It's just ultimately how can we provide better unique value to the client.
I'm curious, you mentioned AI. I mean, that's such a hot topic, obviously. And no one knows, but I'm curious, like, how do you see AI changing SEO?
Sure. Yeah, that's a big one. Shout out to Will Reynolds, Jeff Haas at Seer Interactive. These are individuals that we really look up to. Seer Interactive is really changing the game and being a really a steward for how AI is changing certain things. A lot of people are mentioning the acronym generative engine optimization, and ultimately things are
Like GEO? Is that what
GEO.
is that
Yeah,
what
it's
it
an
is?
acronym,
Okay.
right?
Do you think that's
That,
gonna catch on? I have not heard that.
I kind of
Like
hope not, to
Geo,
be honest.
generative.
I want to get
Yeah.
back to another.
Maybe we should create one on this call that's like coined by Tyler,
I thought,
like
yeah,
whatever that is. I don't know.
another
We're gonna have to think
confusing
about
acronym.
that. Yeah.
Eli Schwartz, I think his last name is. He wrote a book called Product Led SEO.
Mm.
He had a great post the other day at LinkedIn that I definitely agreed to. It's like GEO, SEO, whatever acronym you want to pick. It's ultimately it's we're catering to the audience. We're catering to the user. So call it whatever you want. The foundational elements aren't necessarily changing. We're just trying to benefit the audience in a new platform. And, how do we structure that accordingly? It's always been the user. That's not going to change. I mean, may change until we're marketing to chatbots or marketing to AI bots eventually, but really is for now is really fixating as much as possible on the user, and that's really just been our focus always. Things change, algorithms are introduced, and people are sweating the nuance around that, but ultimately we're trying to stay true to what the user wants, and that really becomes outside of just the tactics with SEO. It's like, how do we immerse ourselves deeper in these client relationships to provide insights on the analytics level, insights on search. Reddit is making a push. Obviously, LLMs from DeepSeek to ChatGPT to Grok to Cloud. There's so many now, and it's becoming like there's definitely
Changing every week.
It is. It's impossible to keep up, but you need to get in the game.
I love how you think about that because it comes from a fundamental strategy piece, right? Because the tactics will change and it goes into what won't change. And that I've heard, you know, um, Jeff Bezos talk about that, and that's kind of some of the things he was thinking about with Amazon is like, what won't change? People will never go, I want to pay more for this. They'll want it less expensive and they'll never say, I hope it takes longer to get to me.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They want it faster or as fast as possible. So I love that thought process when it comes to SEO or any business for that matter.
Yeah, it's leading with intentionality. It's leading with just value. There's definitely a lot of words to say, but like trust and transparency, that's how we've been able to build great relationships. And it's not arbitrary upselling. It's value-based strategies to help adhere to your goals, right? And that's really where we want to come into play. And if we're not a fit in terms of our model or our structure around SEO, we'll refer you out, right? I think that's the big thing is we want to make sure you're getting as much value as possible with your strategic relationship with us.
I'm going to, we'll get into some other examples. I know credit unions, there's e-commerce companies, there's a variety of companies. But what I think about is you have an interesting trajectory in your career, and we're talking SEO, paid search, and from the agency side, I'm wondering kind of the evolution of the services. But even before that, I just want to give a quick overview of your. We could speed through it, right? But I mean, at one point you worked at IBM,
Mhm.
right? And a fun fact, I didn't realize, from my research that you actually played rugby
Yeah.
in college. But just fast forward me through your career a little bit. Like IBM, what were you doing there, and what was after that?
Yeah, let's be clear. Like I was working for IBM, but I just graduated and I I felt I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get a job, and I got a job, and it was obviously at IBM in Essex, Vermont, Essex Junction, Vermont, and I literally was pushing a cart of pens and pencils to different areas across this massive plant. And I slowly got into some graphic design, and I got into offering some other skill sets around marketing. But yeah, that was a interesting place to be, but a great perspective, and showed me where I don't want to be. But it also really
Why is that? Just because the corporate world?
more like, yeah, it was a wafer manufacturing plant, a really interesting place. At the time, that plant was responsible for like any chip that was in a cell phone was coming out of that plant. So I got to go into the wafer, the clean rooms, and got to go take a look at all these different cool things about what was happening, which again, unique perspective. It said, cool, that's awesome. People had been there for 30, 40 years, which is really impressive. Some really brilliant minds. That's when Watson was coming about too. So, but that really allowed me to say, like, this is not what I want. I'm not an engineer either, so I wanted to be more creative and a little more flexible than that was offering there.
So fast forward me through. So IBM, then what after that?
IBM, and then I knew I had a desire to move to the mountains, so I was in Vermont at the time, from Maine originally, and my sister was living in Colorado, and she would invite me out periodically. I'd scrounge up what money I had and go visit her. And you go from skiing at Stowe, Vermont to Vail, Colorado. It's a difference. And so initially I wanted to be a ski bum. I'm like, I'm gonna just go out there and be a ski bum. And I quickly found out ski bum doesn't really pay that well. So I
Were you
continued.
gonna teach classes or what were you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about being an instructor, things like that, but I didn't really interest me. So I decided to reach out and kind of move it. I moved into my sister's for a couple of months and found a job and started consulting a little bit on the marketing side, and then ultimately got a job client side doing marketing for a health and wellness company.
So talk about the evolution of your services when you first started. What did you decide to do, and then how did that evolve?
Yeah, I love that, Jeremy. I mean, I think I'll back up even more a little bit. Just like the health and wellness company that I started out, they allowed me to get a ton of exposure to different things, through PR, through SEO, paid media, traditional media, you name it. Because we were contracting with a lot of different agencies at the time, so that exposure was incredibly attractive to me, and I was like, whoa! I immediately gravitated to analytics and SEO and other things. Fast forward, after I went through a number of agencies, I realized that I'm going to test this out and see if I can consult. And to be totally honest, I got let go. I got fired from 3 different agencies here in Denver, and it's a story I don't really tell very often, but it's something I'm actually proud of. I have great relationships with them still, some more than others, but I learned different things from different agencies, and then ultimately the last agency, Location 3, which I was at, let me go. And they gave me a month or so, and they were really kind to me. They're good people over there. But and then I was like, all right, I'm going to test my network out and see what happens. I'm going to do some consulting here and there, some analytics work, some SEO, CRO, and it took I got some traction. And within the first year, it was going really well. I got really lucky.
I don't know about lucky, but
Yeah, right.
when
Exactly.
hard work meets opportunity.
Sure. Yeah. Create the luck. Create the luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's personal, you don't have to share, but I'm curious, like you're an upstanding guy, I know you're detail oriented, you're smart, you're hardworking. Why were you fired?
Yeah, no, I think so. The first one was Intelligent Demand. I was there for about 8 months. John Common runs that. He's a prolific individual, really compelling guy. Did a lot with marketing automation. I was just didn't have a lot of experience. I was trying to cut my teeth in certain things around SEO, and they didn't have any SEO specific clients, right? So we were actively selling them when I got on board. So the need for my services really dried up. So that was a short stint there. The second one was Burns Marketing, and I helped create their digital departments, and I really enjoyed building that CRO, analytics, SEO offerings, and we were building clients as well. and they took a pivot, right? They wanted to revert back to more traditional avenues around marketing, and essentially eliminated my position. And then lastly was location 3, account director there. And I really was fixated more on the strategy side versus what they needed, which is really more project management. And I think everyone on my team and people that interact with me and my skill sets are definitely not around project management. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's like finding the right fit of someone, what they like to do, the skill set, and what the company needs, and then that path is key. I want to talk about culture, and we were talking before we hit record about teams and staff, and how do you keep, especially staff, as I mean, people who have been on your team for a long time, how do you keep them engaged and excited over the work?
Yeah, this is a great topic, and I think as entrepreneurs and starting businesses from scratch, we've all made mistakes across the board, and I and then it also brings up a timely topic. I was just at a local agency meetup here, or conference rather, Agency Con here in Denver. Kent Lewis spoke there. Natalie Henley, who runs Volume 9. Those are two individuals that were talking a lot about retention and culture and what that means. And Natalie had some really good points around, culture is not the happy hour or the pizza party that you're having, right? It's about making sure that you are establishing clear goals, and you have open communication, and you're really incentivize and incorporate collaboration with people. And I think we're evolving, and we've definitely made some mistakes, and we want to make sure that we're ensuring that people that come on board at session have their own personal goals. And then we also, of course, have their goals in their job description. And we want to make sure they're actively growing at session. And I'll say this to my team, and I'll say this to anyone that we potentially interview, is that we want to make sure you adhere to those goals and you're actively growing. And the second you're not growing, let's figure out why. And if it's outside of session, there's a title that you want, and we don't offer that at session. How can we get you there at a different company? And that's just the rapport that we take with our employees, and the same thing the same stance we take with our clients too. If it's not with us, let's make sure you're successful with another agency.
Yeah. Shout out to Kent Lewis. Yeah, he's a great speaker. And I think a couple people gave me this advice. Jason Swank did too, about doing a quarterly meeting with all of the staff. And I may not do it with each of the staff, but it's reported back to us on what do you want to keep doing, stop doing, and or do more of, and so the start doing is an interesting one, where we found that we didn't know, oh, I want to do more video editing or whatever. Oh, we didn't even know you wanted to do that. So it was like about keeping people engaged and like, hey, let's throw them a project so they can do something they want to like really start doing and they're passionate about, even though maybe they're doing something totally different. So obviously if they have the acumen to do that, but sometimes we just find skills that we didn't realize they even had, because that's not why we hired them.
Yeah. And I think the traditional is like, oh, we'll do an annual review, and that's not beneficial to anyone. And it's like twice a year, and it's more, Ken and Natalie are really advocates of more quarterly, those stay interviews, or how often are you having those? So we're actively revamping a lot of that here, but I love to hear that you're doing that at Rise.
Talk about, we talked about the credit union, but I'm always curious, and it kind of shows that these the strategy and everything kind of goes across different genres and channels here, but Skull Candy.
Yeah, Skull Candy. I should be wearing their headphones right now, but what a cool brand, fun one. That resonated with me personally because I'm a snowboarder, and I would wear their headphones in college, and I love the brand. Travis Rice was a part of that. He's a pro snowboarder. Tony Hawk is still a part of it. It's really cool what they're doing, and the products. It changed a lot. It's evolved a lot. It's some really, really cool stuff. So we got an opportunity to run their SEO, and still do, and really being able to showcase and flex our skill set around e-commerce, which is a target vertical of ours. And helping them launch new products, helping them revolutionize, helping them just establish better credibility with their collaborations. They do a ton of collabs with, influencers and athletes and things like that. So there's so much opportunity there, and they're such a fun brand to work with, and incredibly passionate people about the outdoor industry. So it's all a lot of success there. We're actually putting together a formalized case study for them now, and a lot of big plans with them moving forward.
First of all, Tyler, it's always great chatting with you. I have one last question. Before I ask it, I want to point people to check out sessioninteractive.com to learn more. And this kind of parlays into this question, which is some of your favorite resources, right? It could be podcasts, it could be software, it could be books. But start with your podcast and a couple favorite guests that you've had on. And then, just rattle off some of your favorite software, podcasts, or books.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jeremy. And again, you've been an inspiration to me in a lot of ways, not just on the podcast front, but on a lot of other things, just with your knack for being inquisitive and really developing relationships. So I really appreciate that. So our podcast is being launched here soon. It's called Built to Convert, and we've had a number of guests already. We've had some very exciting conversations, some really cool people from exciting industries that we're really, really pumped to share. A couple of guests there. Mark Minton, he's here based in Colorado. He runs Gravity Global, their mid-market division, which is a global agency specializing in a lot of different things, from search to website generation to all sorts of items, creative, et cetera. He's a mentor of mine, and he gives me a lot of inspiration. He leads the AI Council over there too, so we collaborate a lot there. Ryan Levander, he runs Red Naval Consulting. They do some pretty cool stuff on analytics and CRO. Technically, they're a competitor of ours, but hey, there's enough business out there, and he does some just great progressive stuff with analytics and CRO, and just immersing himself in the data. As far as some tools that I'm really excited about right now, we are bullish on AI, but we're really important that there's an essential component around making sure a human's involved. Using tools like Super Whisper are really cool. We love that. I'll be honest, I'm not really typing as much these days. I'm using Super Whisper to dictate.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it integrates with pretty much everything, and it customizes everything. It links to OpenAI and other AI tools, and then you're essentially just speaking to it, and it customizes email responses and things for whatever you need in terms of long form content. It's really helpful. We're also, we're using a variety of AI tools that we really gravitate towards, and creating custom GPTs for clients and building those out. So those have been really exciting and fun to work with. And then we're also really excited about the Google Sheets integration with GPTs. That's not new, but we're really taking that a lot further with make.com and creating automations, which has been game changer for a lot of ways. Again, not to replace anyone, to essentially make them more efficient at what they do on a daily basis.
What about podcasts? Any podcasts or audiobooks or books?
Yeah, so I love we're Audible. I'm constantly on there looking for business books, and then how-to guides and things like that. One of the brands that I follow closely is SparkToro, Rand Fishkin. I think you've interviewed Rand.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and Amanda over there are amazing people, and just like subscribing to what they're doing. Cyrus Shepard is on the SEO community. He's always influential in terms of his perspective. There's probably another 10 plus people that I really love and follow and really respect their outlooks. Will Reynolds, absolutely. Again, I already mentioned him at Sierra Interactive. His just intentionality, his value, the culture he's been able to establish, and his just overall mindset and vibe is awesome. So yeah,
I have a couple Audible credits. Any recommendations that are your favorites?
Put me on the spot. Yeah, 2 books right away. I think Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, is an essential read for any entrepreneur. The other one is Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. One of the best books I've read in the last couple of years. And just
I think I actually have the physical version because someone sent it to me, but I do not read. I only listen. So I think I have to get that on Audible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's those two in particular are awesome.
Tyler, first of all, I wanted people to check out Session Interactive. I typically don't do this on camera, okay, but I have a special self-proclaimed talent, okay, and self-proclaimed that I could spot celebrity lookalikes. Sometimes it just jumps out at me, okay, and when I tell people to check out Tyler, what he's doing. And so you'll show this to your wife and see if she agrees or not. But typically I just do this off camera, but I just figured it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think Tyler has a doppelganger. It may be, I don't know, like 85%. Okay. So whoever's listening could tell me I'm totally off or I'm not, okay, with this. But this is my
Yeah.
doppelganger for Tyler. Okay.
Colin.
Yeah, Colin Farrell. So I'm like, oh, you'll meet Tyler. He looks like Colin Farrell. So someone could disagree or agree with me. That's fine. But really, what matters if Tyler's wife agrees with me or not. So, but
buddies will likely joke that I'm more the penguin. He's the penguin version, right?
I didn't see that character, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. Everyone check out Session Interactive and more episodes of the podcast, and we'll see everyone next time. Tyler, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate your time.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.